Sorry, I wasn't there for a second and I was concerned. Good evening. I hope everyone is doing okay. We've made it halfway through the week and it has been a week. um, oh gosh, I can hear myself. Hang on. Alright, that should be fixed. No more of that. No more of that. Okay. Uh. Oh, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, so remember how last week I was like, hey, I had time to do this, but I was lazy and late and didn't do it on time? And then I was trying to do it while I was talking to y'all, and it wasn't going very well because I was having problem finding the illustrators. Yeah, this was the antithesis of that. This was so easy to put together because all of the information was easy to find. I have the cover in front of me. It literally tells me who the illustrator is. The illustrator made it very easy for me to find them. Yeah. Also, if you haven't figured out yet, happy out of season spookiness because we are doing Critical Role. As per usual, when I talk about Critical Role books, I might go off on nerdy tangents, and there will be spoilers because A, I can't avoid them with the novels, and B, I really like talking about Critical Role. um, Before we get into all of that, I hope everyone is having a good night, a good week. If you're not, hang on a little longer. Hopefully, this will be a nice break from that. If you like spooky things out of season, this is your jam. And even me, who doesn't like spooky things, well, there's spooky and spooky, you know? Um, yeah, so this is another one. So, like with the other Critical Role books, and we'll get into this in a second, I listened to the audiobook. I also purchased the novel. Um, More than the other two, listen to this audiobook. It is fantastic and dialogue heavy. Like, I'm pretty sure the Nine Eyes of Lucian, despite having more characters, had less. Well, it had probably the same amount of dialogue, but it was dialogue between Robbie as the narrator and voicing everybody else, and Matthew Mercer as Lucian. So like, uh, this is different. This one is different. I highly recommend the audiobook. That's an entire slide on here for reasons. So since I'm clearly talking about it anyway, let's just get into it. As per usual, this is meant to entertain and inform. I do not hold any rights to the works described, and I hope you enjoy. This should be a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this book. Did it take me longer to finish than I expected? Yes. Did it snowball at the end like every other book I've read lately? No. Unironically, no. um, so let's get into this, and hopefully y'all will enjoy it. So this is Critical Role's Bells, Hells, What Doesn't Break. Like all the Critical Role books, the titles are long. By Cassandra Khaw. It is a delight. It is an absolute delight. Publishing details. So the original publisher is A Random House Worlds. It was published in 2024. Remember how I said it was easy to find stuff about this book? It's new-ish. Compared to most things I read, it's very new. It is not part of a series, but other things exist in this world. Yes, namely Critical Role, and the other novels, and their graphic novels, and their source books that they've put out. So, oh, excuse me. Oh no, I can't be yawning already. Hang on, I have coffee. And I clearly forgot to put creamer in because that is really hot still. Alright, here we have the original cover by Matt Hubel. Hubble? Look, I looked up the illustrator. I forgot to look up how to say his name. This gentleman. He is a VFX artist and illustrator and has worked on multiple video games. Also, and I put this on here because of my complaint last week, he did the illustration for both this and the Nine Eyes of Lucian. They are like right on the top of his page when you go and look at his works. Very easy to find out who was the illustrator for these covers. 10 out of 10, please keep doing this. More illustrators, please do this. But so yes, this is the cover of the book. I will say it's had of the Critical Role books, it has the most boring without its dust jacket. It's not a slight against this book, it's the other books that were gorgeous. Just gonna throw that out there. This cover is gorgeous. The book underneath is just kind of there. Like, it's not bad, but it looks basic. Let's go with basic. I'm like, it looks like an encyclopedia. Doesn't matter, it's a great book. I listened to the audiobook. As I do with all the Critical Role books. Like the other two, it is narrated by Robbie Damon, which is peak and wonderful. Laudna is voiced by Marisha Ray. Delilah Briarwood is voiced by Gray Delisle. And Imogen is voiced by Laura Bailey. If you're like, I don't know Gray Delisle, yes you do. Yes, you do. On the super nerdy side, she is the voice of Azula in Avatar: The Last Airbender. You absolutely know her. And on a broader spectrum, she is most of the animated Daphne voices. I don't remember when she took over that. I looked that up and have promptly forgot it. But you've heard her. She has been around for a long time and does wonderful work. But yes, for this she is Delilah Briarwood. All right, about the author. Don't be intimidated by the amount of information here. Cassandra Khan is a Malaysian horror and sci-fi author with a lot of award nominations. The list I found was small compared to the amount of writing she has done, but I have included some of them here. She has won the Bram Stoker Award for her novel Breakable Things. She was an Locus Award nominee for Hammers on Bone, Food of the Gods, The All-Consuming World, and Breakable Things. So, a lot of people like it. She also wrote for Dungeons & Dragons, both Wizards of the Coast themselves and Wizards of the Coast / Critical Role, by doing Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, which is the strictly Wizards of the Coast one, and the Critical Role Call of the Netherdeep. She's also written for several video games. Yeah, creepy stuff. It's good. I will say this is an author where I have not read her main stuff, same as with the other two Critical Role authors. And I probably wouldn't, because horror is not my vibe, and this book isn't really horror. I'll get into that a little later. So what do you need to know? Number 1, spoilers. As per usual with Critical Role, there will be a spoiler screen that says, "Hey, thanks for playing. Spoilers ahead." So, what you need to know: this has spoilers for the campaign. If you do not care, wonderful. If you do care, go catch up on the hundreds of hours of campaign and come back. The audiobook adds a lot to this one. I highly recommend you use it. It has made itself a bullet point. Minimal time skips. I don't know why this matters. I really don't. I keep hearing things about people complaining about time skips. I don't know why. It's like the people who insist on wanting short chapters. If you want that, this isn't the book for you. But also, sure, I'll mention it here since people seem to be concerned about it. And it is fun scary. If you know anything about Laudna, you know why I phrased it this way. So, here is your last and final warning. Beware all ye who enter here. There are spoilers beyond this slide. If you do not want Critical Role spoilers for multiple campaigns, please turn back. You can still read and enjoy the book without knowing anything about Critical Role. It will spoil some things from Campaign 1. But if you're caught up on Campaign 1, you haven't caught up on Campaign 3, and you want to read this book because it's got a spooky girl on the cover, fantastic, you won't spoil anything. If you are avoiding all things Critical Role that are not related to Campaign 2, because Campaign 2 is got a adorable cast of characters, and I don't blame you, and you do not care about Campaigns 1 and 3, cool, read this book, it'll be fine. If you do care about those things and you haven't caught up, hold off on this one. Alright, is that enough of a warning? Is everybody here who wants to be here and wants to hear me kind of go off about one of my favorite characters from Campaign 3? Because this is her book. And absolutely, let's go. Our main character is Laudna. She was not born Laudna, of course she wasn't. She was born Matilda Bradbury in Whitestone and was hung on the sun tree as a warning. And then she woke up. Like, you want Laudna as the nice summary? There's your nice summary of Laudna in a nutshell. She's an absolute delight. She is full of childlike wonder and genuine kindness. She's a feral little creature for a bit. Mostly what you need to know is she is kind. And she is dead. And the juxtaposition of those two things is kind of what drives the whole book. Oh, I am lagging. Hang on, let's see if we can get me synced up again. Yay! Alright, are we synced up? Look, my mouth is moving again. Hooray! Okay. So yeah, she's an adorable delight. She is both kind and dead. I would also like to point out, I didn't realize it when I typed this, she was hung post-mortem. She was not killed on the sun tree. She was already dead before she was hung. Alright, so the audiobook, you should use it. Anyway, this book is dialogue heavy, specifically between Laudna and Delilah. I highly recommend the audiobook, especially if you want it for spooky book purposes, because Delilah and Laudna are the best. How someone who looks spooky can just not sound spooky at all, and then can say the most random terrifying things, and someone who sounds all nice and refined is just terrifying. Like, vocally terrifying. Like, how are all of these words so awful, and you sound so polished, and it makes it worse. It is Delilah Briarwood in a nutshell. Also, if you're not a critter, you will benefit more from the audiobook. And I only say that because If you are a critter and you have watched any of Campaign 3 and heard Marisha voice Laudna, you can probably get Laudna's voice easily in your head. You can hear Laudna. If you watched any of The Legend of Vox Machina. Sorry, I had to make sure it was the right one and not the graphic novels, which are Vox Machina Origins. If you watched any of The Legend of Vox Machina, excuse me, specifically, Campaign 1, Season 1, jeez, mixing my mediums and my brain isn't working, then you've heard Delilah. You know what Delilah sounds like. Also, just imagine a terrifying lady. Terrifying posh lady. You'll do fine. But if you haven't heard their voices before, you will get a lot of leverage out of this as an audiobook. And Robbie, as per usual, is just wonderful and chill, and is a great juxtaposition to the ladies in this. Because it's like, oh cool, here's the dead girl who should be terrifying and is a ball of sunshine, and Delilah, who hypothetically shouldn't be scary and keeps saying things that make her terrifying. I need to turn on my fan for a second. Hang on a second. With my computer going, it gets all hot in here. Alrighty. Also, pate! If anyone has ever wondered about the origins of pate, that is in here. And pate is still the amazing and wonderful delight that we know him as. It also explains where his name came from and why he looks the way he does. And how he's somehow better than Jiminy Cricket, although that isn't brought up directly. So yes, read the audiobook. Alright, minimal time skips. As I said earlier, I don't know why this is a big deal for a lot of people, but hey, here we go. They exist, they're mostly hand-waved, or revealed by reminiscing how long ago a previous scene was. Like, oh, I spent a year in that place. Alright, cool, we know that time period was a year, and then time has moved on. Or, 10 years ago I encountered person X. There's a lot of recurring characters in this book. And in the interest of not spoiling everything about this book, person X. So, because... Oh my goodness. There we go. Because Laudna typically appears first, not as Laudna, in Campaign 1. And by the epilogue of the book, we are trotting up on Campaign 3. This book covers a good chunk of time. But it doesn't really matter, because it doesn't matter to Laudna. Like, time does affect Laudna, but not the same way time would affect anybody. She's a dead girl. I love her so much, but she is a dead girl. And so since time doesn't really matter to Laudna, and she's kind of the whole point, it doesn't really bother the book. I will say something here before I get to the next bit. If you were expecting a convoluted and complicated plot, this is not that book. This book is the equivalent to, like, Clannad, if you watch anime. It is a slice of life with feelings. Not the same feelings as Clannad, mind you. Our girl is already dead. Spoilers for Clannad, I guess. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch Clannad. But it is a slice of life if slice of life was about a spooky thing. So, yeah, be aware of that. It doesn't read like a usual novel. So if you go into it expecting a mystery adventure like Kith and Kin, or a mystery adventure like the Nine Eyes of Lucian. I just realized they're both mystery adventures. This one is not. This one isn't that at all. It's sitting in your feelings with the sweetest dead girl you'll ever meet. So be aware of that. So this is fun, scary. If you like folktales about hags or mostly dead things that go bump in the night and wondered, what if those things were nice? Still look terrifying though. This is your book. It feels like a folktale is being literally written. It kind of is. For all of the scary things that could happen, Laudna is fun, scary. So any of your German or Polish folklore with all of their terrifying creatures, because for some reason they're all terrifying over there. Nice ones, they've got like 5. Scary ones, all the rest. This is like that. It is very much a, there are things that are scary in this book because the things are scary. There are things that are scary because they're related to Laudna. And then there's the fact that Laudna's like a walking horror monster that just wants friends. Like, straight up, Laudna's a sweetie. She just wants friends. She didn't get the memo that being dead means people might not want to be friends with her. Oh, she is a delight. So a little spoiler for campaign 3. If you don't already know this, I'm very sorry. I'm going to say it, so plug your ears. If Pate is basically Jiminy Cricket, Delilah is her shoulder devil, and she baffles Delilah. She absolutely baffles Delilah at times. And ignores her. So, do with that as you will. I adore this book. I adore Laudna. I think it's a lovely book. Is it a fast read? No. Is it an easy listen? Yes. Is it quick? Also no. I can usually read faster than I can listen to audiobooks. I would have been struggling with this one, even loving Laudna, because plot isn't the point. And I don't say that to be like, oh, well, it's a bad book because the plot's weak. No. It's a wonderful book. But plot isn't the point. This is a character-driven story. It is a dying art is what it is. Unlike the other books that were heavily about characters, but the story actually had a plot that was driving it, this doesn't. Like, I went into this knowing at some point we have to get somewhere close to campaign 3, and we're starting at Whitestone. Those two things aren't close to each other. Geographically, and in the timeline. So I knew we'd have a lot of ground to cover, literally, figuratively, chronically, chronologically, I should say. But yeah, I trusted it would do it. Well, because it's not a mystery or an adventure or an action or anything like that, because it is the novel equivalent of a slice of life anime, it's character driven. Your story is Laudna. If you don't like Laudna, it's gonna make this story really difficult. if you correctly think Laudna is the sweetest thing ever and deserves all the hugs, then you'll adore this. That is my very biased opinion. I've never claimed to be unbiased about Critical Role, and quite honestly, of the 3 books, this one is about my most favorite character. I need one to come out for either Caleb or Essek, please. Please. The Sad Wizard Boys. I would read that. Alright, recommendations. It is a story of self-discovery. I know I didn't list this earlier, but it is a book all about Laudna and kind of learning who Laudna is after she's dead. So here are some others. I know that sounds dumb and grand, but I will go through these. I've recommended these, I think, 1,000 times before for 3 of them. But let's go through them again. The Deed of Paxenarian by Elizabeth Moon is an omnibus. It is the 3 books in the Deed of Paxenarian. The Sheepherder's Daughter. Now I can't remember the individual books. Get the omnibus. It's easier. And it is following Paxenarian from running away from home because she doesn't want to marry the person her father wants her to marry, all the way through stuff that I'm not going to mention because it is massively spoilery and you need to read this book. Elena by Tamora Pierce. Moving on. Is about Elena, like titular character rules here. She is wonderful and fiery and feisty and trades places with her brother who doesn't want to be a knight and she does. So, welcome to self-discovery and finding out who you are and also trying to hide yourself. Self-discovery via hiding? There are weirder things. I will say that is the first book in a quartet. It is wonderful. Not all books in that quartet are created equal. Not all characters in that quartet are created equal. Some characters go through character growth that makes them awful. I'm not gonna spoil it because they're not awful in book 1, but they get there. And they get better. Because of their wife. Tamora Pierce can write women. Read her books. Dragon Song by Anne McCaffrey is the first book in the Harpercraft Hall trilogies. It is about Meneley. How do I explain this one? Meneley is a girl who wants to be a harper. Female harpers aren't a thing. Ignore what I said during the Master Harper of Pern. Times have changed. Weirdly. Retconned. Anyway. Point being, Meneley wants to be a harper. Girls aren't harpers at this point. So some spoilery things happen and self-discovery. I just realized that giving these recommendations is really hard, but I'm desperately trying not to spoil these books. Go read Dragon Song. If you don't like music, it'll be hard, in which case, go read Elena. It has swords. And then The Buried in the Bow by Rochelle Hassan, which I've done an entire talk about, is a story of self-discovery for all the characters, in a sense. One of them has lost his memories. One of them is being controlled, a la Warlock in Dungeons and Dragons. And one of them never knew her parents, and so self-discovery. It's really good. I do, in fact, have... I think I said this earlier. I've bought the second book. I'm saving it for sequel summer, which should be starting in June. So sequel summer is coming up. I think I already know which books I'm doing, so I'm probably not going to put a poll up for sequel summer, but that's that. And then fun scary. I don't like scary things. If I haven't said that before, I will say that here. I don't like scary things, so most of these are creepy, not scary. So let's get into this. Lockwood and Company and the Screaming Staircase by Jonathan Stroud. It is about a ghost hunting company of children. I've talked about this one before. A ghost hunting company of children that is run by children. There is no adult overseer in this one. And it is an absolute delight, but it has some it's spooky stuff. Because ghosts. Castle is the Flying Dutchman by Brian Jacques. Read this entire series. There's only 3 of them. Does this man write anything shorter than a 400-page book? No, of course not. Read them anyway. The creepy part of this one is the fact that the Flying Dutchman is following around the castaways and is full of bad, evil people who don't want good things. We want good things for the castaways. They're sweet. I will say this is more of a mystery adventure than a spooky thing, but there is the threat of the Dutchman always on the edge of it. So there's your looming fear. Homeland by R.A. Salvatore. This is the first book in the prequel series of Drizzt Do'Urden. How do I explain this? Usually I recommend reading the Icewind Dale trilogy first. There's nothing creepy. There's very little creepy about the Icewind Dale trilogy. I had to think about that for a second. There are a couple of creepy things. But Homeland takes place in the Underdark of Mesobaranzan. It is all about the Drow. They are not nice people. They worship the Spider Queen. It is creepy. If you've played Baldur's Gate 3 and been like, Lolth is scary, what is this? Welcome to the heart of Lolth worship. And how our delightful Mary Sue came from there. And so did his cat. Go read it. It's pretty good, actually. If you're like, hey, this reads a lot like Tolkien with some action in it, correct. R.A. Salvatore writes a lot like Tolkien, only with action. And then Not Even Bones by Rebecca Schaeffer. This one has an asterisk by it because I haven't read the novel. I have read a large chunk of the webtoon. Really liked it. Have not yet gotten my hands on the novel. It takes place in a world where monsters are real, and some people harvest monster bits and sell them on the black market, and they harvest them from still living monsters, as well as monster corpses. And when I say monsters, I don't just mean, like, sea serpents. I mean things like people who are also, like, have supernatural powers. They're all monsters, basically. Yeah, it's about a girl who, her mom gets the monsters and she's in charge of taking the bits. And stuff happens. Without spoiling that one is very gory, and is less fun scary and more scary. But it is more on the creepy side, so if you actually like spooks and things that go bump in the night, that one might be more your speed than the others, which are just a little creepy. Even Lockwood. Lockwood is a children's book, so less creepy. Well, more creepy than, like, scary. Not Even Bones is in the scary realm. Oh, no, you see nothing. I forgot I can turn that off in OBS. Hi, guys. It's only been 2 weeks. I've forgotten how to stream. Oh. You saw nothing, right? Oh, so that is Critical Role, Bells, Hells, What Doesn't Break. It is an absolute wonder and a delight. I highly recommend it. Even if you don't watch Critical Role, read the book. If you don't like Laudna by the end, that sounds like a you problem, not a Laudna problem, because Laudna loves everybody. Uh, and I think I'm doing another blind read next week before Sequel Summer starts. So Sequel Summer is going to be a bunch of blind reads mostly. I think I'm gonna do one that's a reread, but I haven't read it in years, so it's basically a blind read again. But I've been reading a lot of books that I've specifically gone and set aside the sequels for, so things like The Buried and the Bound, like What the River Knows, Assassin's Quest? Royal Assassin? No, I've done Royal Assassin. I think it's Assassin's Quest. Stuff like that. So I've got several sequels sitting in the wings for Sequel Summer. I may get to actually do the sequel to Nick St. North this time around. Oh. And I have the other sequel to Howl's Moving Castle, so we can also do that one. So it should be a really fun sequel summer. I need to count and see if I'm doing 6 sequels or what. I think I'm doing 6 again, which should be 3 months. I need to check the calendar again and double check. But yeah, so next week should be another blind read, and then I will get into that. I hoped you liked your early spooky via Laudna. I highly recommend it. Please listen to the audiobook. It's a lot of fun, as per usual. Thank you for letting me talk to you about Critical Role and how much I absolutely adore it and how much I love Laudna. I still stand by what I've said before in that audiobooks are not typically my forte. I can read faster than I can listen, but I will say this one was very nice as an audiobook. So highly recommend it as per usual. Give it a listen. Robbie is a great narrator, and all of the voices he does. So I will see you in 2 weeks. Have a good night.